Thank you so much, Rachel, and to everyone at Northshire. You guys are really the cornerstone of our community. So I appreciate all of the support that you've given to me, my novel, and all of the treats you've given to Moose throughout the years. And thank you all for coming and supporting me. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope that you love the novel. And last but not least, thank you, Camille.
It's my
for
pleasure,
being
Molly.
such a friend and supporting me through this entire process, and for sitting with me here tonight to ask me some riveting questions.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much for sharing your endeavor with us.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Well, has anyone read? Okay, we have some readers amongst us. Fantastic. Molly, do you have anything you want to share about what the book is about?
Sure. Yeah. The novel is about 4 hyper-empathic, highly intuitive women from different parts of the world whose lives collide after realizing they've all been dating the same mysterious Silicon Valley tech executive, only to unravel a web of deception that goes far beyond romantic betrayal to expose some of the darker corners of the tech world. So that's my logline. According to Amazon, who made up their own logline for my novel, it's about 4 empathic women who expose a Silicon Valley conspiracy. Yeah, exactly. Right, Lori? I mean, it's not really, I wouldn't say conspiracy. I would say corruption, but yes.
Well, on that topic of conspiracy versus corruption, which is something that a reader might draw a conclusion to while reading the Circuitry We Share, given the current times. Do you have any thoughts on reality versus lived experience and how that relates to your novel?
Yeah, so, you know, my novel is very, very, very much fiction, especially for any lawyers who may be watching this video. It's fiction, but very much rooted in reality. Maybe an alternative reality, but very much rooted in a reality that could potentially happen or is potentially happening right now.
So reality in the objective sense versus lived experience, which is more the subjective feeling centered interpretational portion?
Yeah, well, it's still based in my lived experience. Part of my career has definitely found its way into the novel. So I spent time in my mid-20s working for NBC News, and that really opened my eyes at a very young age about how power, the web of deception, egos all sort of work in the world. And then later on in my career, I did some contract work for Facebook and Meta, or now Meta, and I was there a couple of months prior to the 2016 presidential election, during the presidential election, and after the presidential election.
So another pivotal time.
A pivotal time.
Such as the time we're in now.
Such as the time we are in now. I learned that I had a government security clearance that I didn't know about at that time as well, that maybe was related to Meta or maybe not. But my role there was to analyze data. And I was also partnered with someone who had a PhD in memory research. And that person was doing a lot of interesting research that I wasn't necessarily privy to so much because I was a contract worker.
Even with your security clearance.
Even with the security clearance that I didn't know I had.
With the secret security clearance.
Correct. Yeah, I wasn't allowed into the super secret research labs. But one of the studies that I did know about and was told about was a study that Meta had done on the perception of time. And they actually were studying people looking at their phones engaging with social media and asking them how much time they thought had passed while they were on their phones engaged with Instagram or Facebook. And folks would have been on their phones engaging with social media, and they would have been doing that for 45 minutes and thinking that they were on it for 10 or something to that extent. So it wasn't just like losing 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It was losing huge chunks of time.
Large chunks of time.
Large chunks of time. And, you know, from what we know, time is really perception. So people were literally losing their lives, their time in social media. So that was one of the research projects that I worked on. And just when you're a creative person and also a strategist like I am, learning about some of that research that was happening in Silicon Valley, I was like, what more is happening that I don't know about, right? And that was part of what's kind of infiltrated its way into the novel.
So to some extent, your work, your past work, affected your interest in the topics that you're developing.
Yes.
What else can you tell us about how the work came about? That's a little bit about the work
professional
impetus.
Yes.
Yes, the professional production, lived experience impetus. Right. Were there other aspects of life, yours or this giant collective lived experience, that drew you to this story?
Yeah, definitely some personal experience of my own. So the women in this story, there are 4 main characters, and they all are hyper-empathic, highly intuitive, sensitive, and that is something that I identify with for sure. And they are all magnetized towards this romantic partner who is, let's say, suffers from empathy deficit disorder. But that sort of yin-yang polarity between highly empathic folks and folks who are a little bit lacking in empathy, that's a theme that's sprung throughout my personal life for sure.
So something I'm particularly fond of is that instead of delving into, well, let me say it this way. There are several renowned books about psychopaths. And
I probably read them all.
Yes. Women Who Love Psychopaths is a particular favorite of mine. You're delving into what could be looked at as the opposite side of that coin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that was really, really, well, I know that was something that was really important to me, because society in general, we're fascinated with psychopaths or sociopaths or narcissists, right? And, you know, if you think of like the Patrick Bateman character in American Psycho, even like the Ted Bundys of the world, like there is this not talking about politics here. Oh, that's right. We're talking about psychopaths. Yeah. But yeah, there's a fascination with psychopathy, and, you know, the story of the victims, of people that they affect, is really just, it's not even there. And I think that there's a trope that psychopaths go after people who are really weak, and it's actually not necessarily true. And there's lots of research that's been done that they actually target highly intelligent, empathic, successful people in order to kind of extract more from them.
So these highly empathic individuals, do we have an idea of what part of society they make up?
Yes.
What can you tell us about that? Just for anyone who maybe isn't familiar with what being highly empathic is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe the statistic is 4 out of every 20 people could be identified as highly sensitive, empathic, highly intuitive. and one out of every 25, 30 people would be classified as someone who has an empathy deficit disorder.
Okay.
So the highly empathic folks really outnumber the folks who are on the other end of the spectrum, but don't make as much noise.
I'm pondering a little bit over here in this time where the artificial intelligence of the interwebs and the databases, a phrase that you mentioned before, databases, is really at the forefront and taking over. What if there's something more and very powerful and important about being highly empathic or emotional?
Yeah.
I'm pondering, it was an Elon Musk Twitter from like last week that has popped into my mind. It's taking all my brain space right now. But it effectively was saying we're approaching the singularity, and if we put it into like a roller coaster situation, you're on the roller coaster, it's like right at the top, and it's like about to go down. And for me, it does really feel like it's
at the top of the roller coaster.
It's about to go down.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, which I'm excited about. But anyway, I'm more excited about your novel. So let's pivot back over there. So I don't know if there's anything that those ramblings and musings of mine are bringing up for you about the circuitry we share.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is coined the singularity, and are you guys familiar with that term?
No.
Okay, so the singularity is defined as when technology becomes smarter than humans and can take over our capacities. And according to Elon Musk, 2026 is the year of the singularity, and we're here. That technology is smarter than us and has the ability to kind of take over humanity. And that is something that I've been fascinated with, and similar to you, I think we are on the top of the roller coaster of this. And that's a big part of my novel, is thinking about what happens when artificial intelligence takes over humanity, and what does that look like. And I recently was doing a little bit more research on this, and the Rand Corporation released a study that said artificial intelligence has the power to be a huge national security threat for the United States because it will be able to induce mass psychosis. So that is like not great.
Right.
We should all have a drink after this, but it's not good. It's not great. And we know it's already doing that, right?
There are examples of that happening already. And movies from being a teenager or a 10-year-old where that has already, the script is written already, let's say.
Correct.
Saratoga.
And I would argue that social media has already maybe flipped the switch on that, and artificial intelligence is just going to take things to the next level. But that's why I wanted to write a novel about emotional intelligence, right? And to really highlight what it is to be highly intuitive, highly empathic. And these qualities, I think, with the rise of artificial intelligence, are going to become more and more important for all of us to sort of either realize that we have that within us or to kind of adapt and improve our emotional intelligence so we don't let the robots win.
Yeah, so this is like the singularity versus the synchronicity.
Yes.
To some extent.
Right.
Okay. I'm curious. I know some of these things.
I know you know.
I'm curious about your writing process. I feel like that's something that the audience might want to know about. Like, so I'll ask it loosely. How did the story come about? I think I tried asking that previously, but we went somewhere else. Or maybe I just asked it in my mind, perhaps.
So I started writing the story 5 years ago. Neil, you were there in writing our writers group. You were there for parts of it. And I knew that I wanted to write a story about 4 highly intuitive, empathic women from different parts of the world. And then pretty much I didn't know what was going to happen with them, where the story was going to go. And my career, I'm a strategist. I do research. I'm very detail oriented. And I went into writing with that mindset and learned fairly quickly that that's not how I was going to be able to write this book. So I really let the story tell itself to me versus me telling the story.
So what did that look like? You letting the story tell itself, present itself to you?
So that had to happen with a container of discipline, right? So every day I would set out to write a chapter a day during a certain time period, like in the morning. And so I was very disciplined in doing that and sitting down. But then when I sat down, I would just let the ideas flow. So I wrote by hand for the first draft, which there's a lot of research that when you write by hand, it actually engages different parts of your brain, and it's like more of a channeling. So I let that happen. And then just wild synchronicities would happen while I was writing. Like I would have plot holes and I wouldn't, know how the story would end up. And then all of a sudden, a location would just come into my mind that I'd never heard of before. So there is a location in the book, Salinas Valley, that I have never, at least not consciously, knew about. And then I wrote it down. And then when I actually researched, like, what is this even a place? I learned so much more about Salinas Valley and what was happening there. And then it completely just fit into the story that I was weaving.
Amazing. So it's, you effectively could be seen as tapping into the collective consciousness.
I think that was what was happening. I really do think that was what was at work. Yeah.
I like that you were handwriting, because I have reviewed some of the research about that and the way that you are engaging with your subconscious differently, the hemi-syncing that can go on through that, things of that nature. So,
and I also did a lot of meditating. That was something that, I was really disciplined about just moving my body and being embodied and using some somatic processes as well.
So we talked about your desire. Is there a particular character that you identify more with? Or at all, for that matter, perhaps?
Yeah, of course. There is a lot of me in one of the main characters, Zoe, who is an investigative journalist. She's a lot cooler and smarter than me, but that's her, and she's me in sort of an alternative timeline. So I like to play with that idea too, right? Like I could be her and she could be me if I had turned the corner and bumped into a certain person or had answered a phone call and taken a certain job, or it's just the sliding doors of it all. Yeah.
Well, find time for this. Comes up whenever I hear about that. The way Molly and I met here in Saratoga Springs. However, we probably met or at least passed each other regularly in our lives in Los Angeles, where we lived like blocks from each other.
Probably the same distance that we live from each other now. Yeah. Which is only just a couple of blocks, which is really, and we never met, but maybe our paths did cross in Santa Monica at some point.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like we ran past each other.
Did the same running path in the AM.
Yeah.
We frequented some of the same localities.
Yeah. But never met.
Never
until
she stands out in the crowd.
It's true.
So I keep thinking I'll look in the back of a picture one day.
I was thinking the same thing, Camille.
Find you in there, or Moose.
He probably remembers you from Los Angeles. Yeah.
So the sliding door effect. What else? I'm wondering, you mentioned you were allowing the story to come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a particular, scene, but I don't want to say give so much away, or action, conversation, anything with the characters that surprised you?
A lot. The one that really did surprise me was, it was months that I just didn't know how the story was going to wrap up. And it was the location that came to me, Salinas Valley. And it just really, truly dropped into my head. Mm-hmm. And then when I researched what was happening there, I was like, oh my God. So that really, really surprised me, but I won't give away too much more of that because it will give away the story.
Yeah, I'm treading here between things that are giving away and not giving away.
And I will say something else that it still continues to surprise me, because a friend had recommended that I read Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, because her novel also talks about people who are highly empathic. Yeah. And I didn't want to read that novel while I was still writing mine, because, I didn't want to subconsciously steal her ideas. But I did read it after my book was published, and she also had Salinas Valley in there.
Yeah.
Which I was like, what in the...
So perhaps that is a vortex,
perhaps
a portal.
We don't know.
Something. When you mentioned that quite a few things surprised you, I will endeavor to mention something that was a pleasant surprise to me without giving away too much about these highly empathic women. And particularly, and Stacey, you're nodding like you might know where I'm going with this already. It is that oftentimes women are portrayed as not being very cooperative with each other, shall we say. However, something entirely different is occurring in the Circuitry We Share. And it's such a welcome, pleasant surprise for me that these heroines and leading characters, these highly empathic women, when they find something out that can generally send anyone into a frenzy. Spiral. There it is. They do not spiral, actually. Or to play with the opposite of that, it could be seen as them spiraling upward. And cohesively and collaboratively. Yeah, I think that's probably all I can say about that.
Yeah.
Whenever you were making the choice to present those scenarios like that, was it for any particular reason? Were you motivated by anything, or what can you just tell us about those 7 questions? What can you tell us about that topic?
It was important to me that when the women found out that they were all involved with the same man, that instead of tearing each other down or, being jealous of one another or seeking revenge towards each other, that they actually came together instead. And that they, instead of feeling terrible about themselves and competing with each other, that they actually were validated from their experience, and learning about each other made them feel like they were seen and understood. And so that was important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoy that aspect. I mean, there are quite a few.
Yeah, and as women in the world, we are indoctrinated to compete with each other fiercely for just a seat at the table or for men, and it doesn't have to be that way. That scarcity mindset, I think, can be long of the past of the patriarchy. I promise I'd only say the word patriarchy once tonight.
That is perfectly fine. In a more general sense, and I'm thinking more on I experience you, Molly, as being incredibly creative.
Thank you.
Wildly intelligent, and also incredibly emotional. And I mean that in all the positive ways. A very feeling, caring, present, sentient individual. So you've had a lot of success in the production of it all, in the more traditional production realms. And for anyone who doesn't know my kind of English, that's like work. The thing whenever...
Factory work.
Working in the factories and salt mines. Stacey, I miss your laughter. You get to be yourself here in this audience.
I'm getting to be myself often now.
With actual expressions. It's beautiful. So I'm curious, from a creative perspective, where you were clearly not hemmed in by any or many rules. Like, what does this mean to you, this endeavor? Like, is there anything that you want to share with us about what that means to you?
What it means to me to bring this novel into the world.
Yes, and share it with us.
I mean, it feels incredible, and it also feels like I can't believe, like I'm asking folks for their precious time, right? This is probably 10 hours of folks' time, and I feel like I know how valuable everyone's presence is and their time, and also you're allowing me into your mind, which with a lot of sort of complicated, not so complicated ideas. And I feel like that is such a privilege. And I'm really grateful to have been able to put this out there in the world.
Wonderful.
And also terrified that like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are going to come find me at some point.
That's beautiful. Even in the way that you've answered that, it's so telling to me, the thought and care that you take for people's time. That's really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you, Camille.